Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you on a Wednesday midweek after that Dodgers-Mets game. Figured we'd let that one play out a little bit, have a little more something to talk about on the show. We're going to go through a lot of things Rangers. We're going to talk about some minor leaguers that really made some big steps in the Rangers farm system in the 2024 season. We're going to talk through some season honors and awards that several Rangers players have earned in the past week or so, and a whole lot else. But of course, here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports, but we put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers, and especially the Rangers, as we cover the MLB playoffs. A forgettable 2024 regular season, as we all know, for the Rangers. 2025 looking bright, and we're going to tell you all about the reasons why here in just a little bit. Thank you for tuning in to the show today. Appreciate all of y'all. If you got any questions, you got comments, you got things you want us to talk about on the show, of course, we'll be checking the chat periodically, getting to as many things as we can. You got a question about the Rangers, the plan for the 2024 offseason, heading into 2025, fire away. We will try and get to as many as possible. But thank you for supporting the channel. Appreciate all of the likes. Thank you for the views. And if you know somebody that loves the Rangers, you know somebody that loves baseball, send them my way. Let's keep growing this great community of people we got talking Rangers, talking baseball in general. I love it. Well, let's get into it. So, first of all, let me go ahead and start with this. In terms of MLB playoffs, I don't think I could have been more wrong with my Orioles pick, but the Dodgers pick's looking pretty good. I said Orioles-Dodgers at the very beginning of the postseason, and I believe that I had the Dodgers pretty much since the beginning, even in September, I said going this far, and I think it's looking pretty good at this point. Look, I'm not a Dodgers fan by any means. I don't privately root for the Dodgers or anything of that nature. I'm not a big market guy myself when it comes to baseball. I prefer seeing the smaller teams do well. But that being said, the Dodgers do appear to be on quite the roll right now. Shohei Ohtani going off tonight with a prodigious home run to put a stamp, to put an exclamation mark on this one. The Mets do maybe still have a little bit of Cinderella left in them. Well, I don't know. The Dodgers going into New York and winning tonight, going up 2-1. I think we all know how pivotal Game 3 can be in a number of different sports, whether it's NBA, whether it's MLB. Game 3 always seems to be that pivotal game. So the Dodgers taking Game 3. There's a lot of statistics out there. Teams' likelihood to win the series when they win Game 3, it's high. I don't have the exact number on the tip of my tongue, but it is well over 60% when you win Game 3, especially you win Game 3 on the road like this. I think the Dodgers would really have to spoil the bed the rest of the way to not take this series. They're not totally out of the woods. The Mets are a pesky opponent. They have never quit in this entire playoffs and in the stretch run to even make the playoffs. I'm not saying that the Mets are out of it or dead in the water. I am saying, though, that the numbers, the stats, they are what they are. When you win Game 3, you go on to win the series at a high percentage rate. The only thing that concerns me about the Dodgers, how the starting pitching holds up. You've seen a lot of bullpen games. You've seen the Dodgers piece a lot together. I think maybe the other side of that is you say they've been masterful and everybody's executed well, and why can't it keep going? But for the old school fans out there, I think you look at the Dodgers and you say, where are all the dogs when it comes to the starting pitchers? Dodgers do appear to be in a little bit of a deficit in that department, but maybe Dave Roberts is just going to push all the right buttons with that bullpen all the way to another World Series. I do think the Dodgers winning this year would bring a lot of credibility. The 2020 World Series, I think, polarizes a lot of MLB fans. The COVID World Series, I tend to be on the side of Dodgers fans and the Dodgers organization in general. In 2020, everybody had the same circumstances, the shortened season, the different rules, all of that. Everybody had to deal with it. And in some ways, I think you could argue that the COVID year was one of the more challenging years for a lot of organizations and franchises in Major League Baseball. So I don't necessarily take a lot away from the Dodgers for the 2020 World Series. I know there absolutely are some fans that refuse to give the full credit in that regard. But I will say, I think the Dodgers, legitimate 2020 win. But if you just want to put the entire thing to bed, win it in 2024 in the full season, there's really not a whole lot you can say after that. I'm excited for the rest of the playoffs, though. Really hope the Guardians can make it a little bit more competitive with the Yankees. Really did not want to see them go down in the way that they did. I think that they have a tough road ahead of them, the Guardians do. We'll see, though, what tomorrow brings. I think it's a double slate tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get you the scores. Yes, we got Yankees at Cleveland. And that game is going to be, whoa, that is an early game, at least out on the West Coast for me, 2:08. So we got a 2:08 West Coast start, 5:08 Eastern time. Yankees will go to Cleveland, see if they can extend this to a suffocating 3-0 lead. That's the last thing you want to see, by the way. I mean, just as a fan of the game, y'all obviously see what I'm wearing right now. You know where my allegiance lies. But as a fan of the game, I love watching the MLB playoffs regardless of if the Rangers are entered or not. And I want to see competitive series. I want to see at minimum 6-game series. I know that my Dodgers fans, my Yankees fans, everybody who's involved passionately in these two series doesn't want to see a long series. Just sweep it and put it to bed. That's exactly how I'd feel if the Rangers were in it. But as a fan, with no dog in the fight, give me a 6 or 7 game series every single time. So Yankees looking to put that 3-0 stranglehold on the Guardians. We've got Schmidt going for the Yankees, Boyd going for the Guardians tomorrow. Hopefully the home crowd, the home cooking brings a little mojo to Cleveland. I'd really like to see them make this series competitive. And I was reminded I got to eat a little crow on the Yankees. I did not feel good about the Yankees making it this far. I may have said that, I think I said with the Yankees, and I'd have to go back and double check. I think I said with the Yankees, I can see the ALCS. I can't see a World Series or a World Series appearance. Might have to eat some crow on that if the Yankees continue at the clip that they're going. The bats appear to be in perfect rhythm. You got Juan Soto and then Aaron Judge finally going deep the other night. I might have to eat some crow on that Yankees prediction. Dodgers pick is looking real good right now, though. Look, I'm not happy about it per se. If anybody could win this World Series, just my choice, I'd love to see the Guardians win it. Dodgers, Yankees, I think all these teams have won a World Series. But Guardians, Cleveland, it's been a while. In a perfect world, Cleveland wins it for me. I'm an underdog guy. I'm a small market guy. I don't consider the Rangers to be a big market. I like seeing the smaller teams do well. Look, Cleveland, obviously a big city, not necessarily a team I consider big market when it comes to baseball, but I'd love to see them get a World Series. It's been a while. The heartbreak in 2016, the epic comeback here against the Yankees. I'm manifesting it right now. All right. Let me go ahead and let me head to some of the comments here. Let me see if I missed anything. Let me see. Dodgers should be up 3-0. Yeah, I mean, arguably, I think you could definitely make that claim. The Dodgers, to me, have looked like the better team. I know that game 2 got a little bit away from them, but game 1, game 3, I have to say overall, I have to give the Dodgers the edge in this one. You've got the best player on the planet. You took game 3. The Mets not completely out of it, but I think it's going to be tough. You even up the series at 2 apiece. You go back to LA, or you go down 3-1 back to LA and the Dodgers have a chance to clinch. I mean, it's going to be tough for the Mets. You go down 2-1, you lose that game 3. I think it's always difficult. Let me keep going here. Thoughts on Josh Young. So Rangers third baseman Josh Young, of course, Josh Young was the starter in the All-Star game, I believe, last year, 2023. Josh Young never really completely got better from that injury that he suffered in April against the Rays, got hit with a upper 90s fastball, fractured the wrist in several different places, gnarly injury. But I think that Josh Young is going to benefit from an offseason where he just gets to rest. The wrist was just bothering him, just pesky all, July, August, September, it seemed like. They were giving him days off to rest it. I think that he is going to benefit from, a full 4 months off. I'm sure he's going to be doing some light work here and there, but Josh Young was killing it before he got injured. He was hitting like 425. I know it was a small sample size. It had only been like 1 week of the season. But if the Rangers can get Josh Young right, if they can get him right, I feel very, very good about the Rangers and what they're going to do offensively in 2025. I think Josh Young has power, hits lefties very, very well, hits the fastball really well, something the Rangers struggled with all season long. Evan Carter and Josh Young, arguably, I think, are the Rangers' best fastball hitters. I think the stats do back that up. And both of those guys, I think, played a collective 5 or 6 games together all season long. So I do think having a full season of Evan Carter, a full season of Josh Young, our 2 best fastball hitters, is going to be absolutely huge. Let me keep going here. See what other comments we got. I know there's some people still coming in a little late. Welcome to all y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. We're talking MLB playoffs. We're talking Rangers offseason. Really all things MLB at this point. So keep the comments coming. I'll be checking them every now and then. Appreciate all y'all. We need a new center fielder, somebody else says. Yeah, I got to say, the Rangers do appear to be content with Leody Taveras. Chris Young in the exit interviews talked about the fact that Leody needs to take the next step. Those are CY's words, not mine. They weren't words that I wanted to hear. Personally, I'm ready for the Leody experiment to be done with. I would like to see the Rangers move on from Leody Taveras. A really interesting name that I was reading about. I know some of y'all follow Jamie Newberg, who covers the Rangers a lot. Big time on X. He's on Substack as well. I follow a lot of his stuff. Really appreciate his insight. He brought up a name that I actually wanted to put forth to y'all. See what you think. But Jurickson Profar for the Padres. He actually was on a crazy 1 year, I think, $1 million deal with the Padres this year. Of course, Profar had an outstanding season, was an all-star. I think he hit over 300. He was a huge weapon for the Padres. He's a free agent. Now, there have been initial talks that the Padres, and why wouldn't they be, are very interested in re-signing him. That, to me, is an interesting piece. Bringing Profar back home. You've got the outfield versatility with Profar. You've got a guy that also plays a little first base. But I don't know what their plan is with Nate Lowe. I think that they're going to end up holding on to Nate Lowe. I don't think that they're going to be trading him. But if you bring in a first baseman at all, I think you've got to trade Nate Lowe before you do that. Otherwise, you completely plummet Nate Lowe's trade value, because then everybody knows you got to trade Nate Lowe. So if you acquire any kind of first baseman, I think you've got to take care of the Nate Lowe situation beforehand. You can't acquire. Look, I'm not going to, definitely not saying that this name is even a possibility, but the Rangers would be ill-advised to go sign Pete Alonso and then try to deal Nate Lowe after the fact. If you know you're moving on from Nate Lowe, who, I mean, look, y'all know, I love Nate Lowe. Love Nate Lowe. By the way, those of y'all on TikTok, Got the Nate Lowe bobblehead in the background. I love Nate Lowe. I think he played himself into another year based on his September. So Nate Lowe had like a 930 OPS in September. It was off the charts. I think that actually ended up saving him from getting dealt. I think had he continued on with the same trend that he had all season long, basically until probably August, September, I think he probably would have played his way out of town. But I think the September that he had, we're probably going to see Nate Lowe manning first base again. With that being said, if you are going to go get a first baseman, I think you have to deal Nate Lowe beforehand. I do think I would be a pretty big fan of that Profar signing. I don't know what Profar is going to command in free agency, but I will tell you this. I like the versatility. I like the homecoming for Profar. I don't know if the Padres are going to be overpaying or how much they're going to be aggressively overspending to keep him. I do think a guy like Profar would fit some of the needs that we have. We could use some outfield help. We could use a little insurance at first base. Profar can play both of those positions. I think that he is going to be well sought after by a number of different teams. Could he be an option that the Rangers potentially get on a reasonable deal? I just don't know what is going to be his market, meaning how much is he going to command? What is he going for in free agency for an average annual? But I would like to see a guy like Profar get signed, and not a guy I had thought of a lot. And like I said, if it wasn't for Jamie Newberg, who I love to follow, like I said, X, Substack, I would have never even thought of that. In fact, I didn't even understand Profar's contract situation. The Padres got him on a 1-year, $1 million deal. Profar was kind of toiling around with a couple of different teams. I think he was A's and then Rockies. He tried to catch on with the Rockies a little bit. Eventually, the Padres picked him up 1 year, $1 million. Now he's a free agent again. I don't know. That could be, I think, the bat that is potentially one that the Rangers could afford and go after. I mean, unless you're talking about re-signing like Robbie Grossman types. You know what I mean? No disrespect to Robbie, but I don't think any of us would consider Robbie to be a missing piece for a team looking to get back to the playoffs and potentially make a run. So Profar was the interesting name that I've heard a couple of different Rangers people that cover the Rangers throw around. We'll see if anything comes of it. I'm going to be following Profar's free agency. I know the Padres are going to want him back, but we'll see what happens. As a couple of people on TikTok have said, though, shoring up the bullpen is going to be interesting. It is going to be an interesting thing to watch how the Rangers mix and match. I've said for a while now, I really think that they're going to re-sign one of the two horses at the back of the pen. I think we sign either Robertson or Yates, not both, but one. I think Robertson is probably a little bit more likely with the mutual option at this point. So we'll see if we can get one of those guys back. I feel pretty positive you can at least get Robertson or Yates back. After that, I really don't know. It would be my preference if the Rangers use some of the guys we're talking about. Like I know some of y'all have brought up Leody Taveras. It would be wise, I think, to trade a guy like Leody for some bullpen help. You can probably get some young arms, controllable for a guy like Leody. I'm not saying you're going to get a top-level prospect, but I think you can get some guys that have potential. Leody, clearly a guy that you know can play in the big leagues. I mean, how well he can play, that's a little bit debatable, clearly. But I think that that is the kind of move you make. You think about a guy like Ezekiel Duran. Could you potentially trade him for some bullpen help? Yeah, there's some guys out there in free agency, but the Rangers, I think, are going to try and be economical. I'm going to try and use a nice word there. They're going to try and be economical this offseason. I really can't see the Rangers going on a big spending spree. I hope to be wrong. Hopefully they figure out the streaming service thing. Of course, some of y'all know the Rangers are going to be creating their own streaming service for games, officially parting ways with Bally. Hopefully that comes through and we're really wrong about the spending or lack thereof that the Rangers are going to be doing this offseason heading into 2025. But I think they're going to do whatever they can to try and be economical with the bullpen moves, acquiring quality, but not overpaying for it. We'll see what happens. Let me keep going here. Scroll back through some comments. Yep, a couple of y'all are on board with Tavares as well. Yep, I'm with you. Put Leiter and Rocker in the bullpen. That's an interesting thing. I think Leiter is probably more of a candidate to go into the bullpen than Rocker. Personally, I'd like to see Rocker start and continue to develop as a starting pitcher. I'm not super high on Jack Leiter. I think some of y'all that have been listening to me for a while know that. I'm not saying that he's a bust, but I am saying I think you got to start getting creative with Leiter. Whatever you're doing right now, I can't say that it's working or Leiter has been able to find a groove with. I'd like to see Leiter start in the bullpen if he does make the opening day roster. I can't see him being in the starting rotation in 2025 right out the gate. That doesn't mean he's not going to be called upon at some point, but it would surprise me to see Jack Leiter in the opening day starting 5 in our rotation. And who knows, maybe the Rangers go 6-man rotation. We'll see, but I would be shocked to see Jack Leiter in the top 5 in the rotation. Somebody says re-sign Evo. Totally agree. I think they've made it clear re-signing Evo. And CY also mentioned Andrew Heaney. He basically said re-signing Evo and Heaney and taking care of the bullpen are the top priorities. Did not really mention offense at all. CY said bullpen, Heaney, and Evo are the top priorities. I know that Andrew Heaney is another polarizing Ranger. I'm an Andrew Heaney fan. I don't think you're paying Andrew Heaney to be a number 2, number 3 guy. I think you're paying Andrew Heaney to be a 4th or 5th starter, keep the ERA below 450, and give you a chance out there. And I really do feel like if you look at Andrew Heaney's year objectively, he did give us a chance in many games to win. The Rangers gave Andrew Heaney absolutely putrid run support. I mean, I could rattle off the stats for you, but I think y'all know what I'm talking about. Andrew Heaney got close to 0 run support, it felt like most days. They were putting up 1 spots, maybe 2 spots at the most when he pitched most outings. I think Andrew Heaney, if you can get him at the right price, would be a great signing for the Rangers if you're talking about filling out the rotation or at least providing some depth for the rotation. Keep going here. Cody Bradford is under contract for a while. I think late 2020s. I'm not saying it's like 2030, but I think it's pretty late 2020s. Cody Bradford's under control for a long time. Evo going to get paid elsewhere, I believe. Possibly. I do think the relationship, Evo and CY, that is a positive. I do think winning the World Series, going through that journey is a positive. I do think that there are some good players on the Rangers. You look around, I don't think that you say to yourself, this team is a dumpster fire. I don't think that at all. I think we actually have a lot of young guys that are promising. So I actually think signing Evo is probably more likely than not. I don't know about some of the other free agents out there, but I think Evo re-signing is more likely than not at this point. That's not to say somebody doesn't throw him a really big number and he takes it. I mean, look, these guys, especially the pitchers in their mid-30s like Evo is, when you have a chance to get paid, you got to take it. Hopefully, the Rangers don't come at him with some janky hometown discount deal. That would be the worst thing to do, but don't know. Not sure what the number is Evo's looking for. Clearly, he can get $20 million. I don't know if he's going to be able to get better than that, 25. I don't know if Evo's going to be able to get 3 years, 25 mil, for example. And when I say 25 mil, we're talking about a $75 million total contract value. Will DeGrom be healthy next year? I think that's the plan. I mean, he finished 2024 healthy. I think he looked pretty good if you watch Jacob DeGrom starts. I do think they'll get a full year of Jacob DeGrom next year. And at that point, how can you not feel good about Jacob DeGrom as your ace assuming the Rangers can make it back to October, which I think they have a very good chance to do. But you go in with DeGrom and Evo into October, I don't know how you don't like that 1-2 punch. Probably the best 1-2 punch in October in baseball. Evo, DeGrom. Let me keep going here. So let me catch up on some YouTube comments. Let me see. Did I see the article, Natalie from YouTube? Natalie, what's up, by the way? Did I see the article where Jared Sandler thinks the Rangers will be spending money? He said more than $50 million. I did see that article. I'm not saying that I don't believe Jared, talking about Jared Sandler, Rangers radio host, radio guy, whatever you want to call it. Love Jared, love his stuff. But I think the doubtful, skeptical part of me kind of raises an eyebrow and says, I don't know if the Rangers are dropping big money this offseason. Jared's number was more than $50 million. I mean, that makes sense, though. And we're talking about $50 million in terms of what? Salaries for 1 year, I'm assuming. I mean, you figure Evo is going to be making at least $20 million. So there's 20 of the 50 right there, right? So Jared Sandler's number was over $50 million. He thinks the Rangers are spending this offseason. So let's do some simple math here. Evo's probably going to be at least $20 million. That's what the option is. So if we re-sign him, there's no way that we're re-signing him for less than 20. It might be 25. So there's half of the 50 right there, basically. I'm going to say you're going to probably give another $10 million to a David Robertson or a Kirby Yates. I think based on the relief pitcher market, the top relievers are getting double-digit figures, average annual. So I think right there you've got another 10. That leaves you about $15 million to do whatever else you want to do. Getting another starter. Can you get Andrew Heaney on a $10 to $15 million deal? I don't know. And when I say that, again, we're talking about yearly numbers, not total value of the contract, right? So I don't know. $50 million, I know it feels like a lot, but when you really break it down, if the Rangers are planning on spending $50 million in free agency this offseason, we're really only talking about a few guys. Evo's going to command 20 to 25. Heaney, if we re-sign him, and CY said Heaney is a priority, that's probably at least 10 to 15. And then David Robertson is probably 10, and Kirby Yates is probably 10 as well. There's your 50. So I don't know. I would have to read that article a little more closely, but I'm not so sure that that means we're going to be spending big bucks or going out and getting guys that we didn't think the Rangers were targeting before. Somebody says, I highly doubt Evo is going to stay with the Rangers. Look, agree to disagree, my friend. I think it's more likely than not. I'm going to say 60-40. That's how I feel. I don't feel like it's any higher than that. I think it's 60-40. I think we've got a shot. The relationship with CY, the World Series ring, I think those things are going to speak loudly, especially if the Rangers have a competitive deal with some of the other teams that are going to be in the mix for Evo. Let me keep going here. Let's see. I want to just kind of filter out a couple of things. Tristan, what's up, man? Yeah, great game from the Longhorns over the weekend. Big game against Georgia. We cover the Longhorns, the Cowboys, pretty much all of the DFW teams. The Mavericks we'll start covering a little bit more here in a second once the NBA season gets started. We'll talk more Longhorns this weekend, but big game against Georgia on Saturday. Real excited about that one. Natalie says, I want them to let Langford and Carter play every day. I think the plan for right now is Carter is going to get slowly worked back in. I don't see them playing Evan Carter every day right out of the gate. In fact, I think they've said as much. So I've said many times, for all y'all that are listening, kind of brand new to the show here, I've said many times, with a top prospect like Evan Carter, you've got to let a guy like that play every day for the sake of his development. I don't think it does any good to platoon one of your top prospects. In fact, I think it's very stunting to the development of a guy like Evan Carter to do that to him. I know he struggled against lefties, and I know last year was an abysmal start for the guy. He was like 0 for his last 18. Evan Carter was before he went on the injured list. For me, I definitely think, though, you have to bite the bullet on him and you have to give him everyday playing time. If you really want to see what you've got long term with a guy like Evan Carter, think you got to bite that bullet. Think you got to give him everyday playing time once you determine that he has the endurance, the stamina, that he's fully healthy to be out there every day competing. We'll see what happens there. Let me see here. Tavaquah, thanks for tuning in. Mets fan here, but I really like your Rangers show. Alonso maybe slipping some. He really struggled offensively in September, other than that big homer versus the Brewers. Look, I will say thanks for the comment, by the way. Appreciate you tuning in every once in a while. If you're still hanging out, yeah, Pete Alonso has had some big moments down the stretch. I do think the entire body of work, it's been a little rough for Pete. And I think he's going to get a pretty penny in the offseason. I'd be shocked if the Mets let Pete Alonso walk. Look, at one point, I really wanted the Rangers to trade for Pete Alonso. The Mets went on a run. He was never going to be on the table after that. I don't think the Rangers need to be paying for Pete Alonso. I think it would be an overpay at this point for him. So we'll see what happens with Pete in the offseason. But I agree, this postseason has been a little up and down for him. Clearly a huge, huge moment with the season on the line against the Brewers. You'd love to see him start taking over a little bit, especially in this Dodgers series with the Mets down 2-1. You need this game 4. You can't go down 3-1 heading back to LA. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's not looking good going down 3-1. That's the last thing that you want happening. So I really do agree with this comment here. Pete's got to get things going. Absolutely. Let me keep going here. Natalie says, I disagree. I think Yates is more likely. I don't know if Robertson wants to pitch anymore. We'll see. I had just heard, the reason I said I think Robertson is a little more likely than Yates is because I had heard in the dog days this summer that Robertson really has enjoyed his time with the Rangers. And it seemed like with the mutual option that they had set up in his contract that clearly there was some mutual interest there and an interest in him being with the team for this second year. So I don't know if he's going to retire. Obviously, that's another thing. I just think a guy like Yates, he is totally unrestricted free agent, no option, nothing like that. He's going to be able to sign with anybody. And I just feel like there's going to be someone that's going to overpay for Kirby Yates. And look, I have all the respect in the world for Kirby. What he did for the Rangers in 2024 was incredible, phenomenal. Insert whatever adjective you want to throw in there. The dude was absolutely dominant. He blew one save, 35 chances. I mean, that's something that the Rangers just did not have last year. They blew 32 or 33 saves last year. Kirby Yates blew one save. The guy was incredible. I just think it's going to be hard to keep a guy like him who's totally unrestricted, probably going to get at his age a 1 to 2 year deal again. I'm sure he'd be interested in getting a couple of years if he can squeeze that out of a team. We'll see. I don't feel as confident about Yates, but look, would I love to be wrong and have him back? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me keep going here. Another comment, I wouldn't mind the Rangers signing a guy like Pham, a guy that can give you depth. I've always said Tommy Pham is not like the flashiest signing, but the dude is just kind of consistent and he grinds out at bats, tough out. Look, in the field, he's not Gold Glover, but adequate. I think the Rangers could use a guy like Tommy Pham for depth. I'd like Profar better. Profar is going to be more pricey than a Tommy Pham type. We'll see. The Rangers could have had Tommy Pham last year, and they probably would have benefited from it. He had a great year with the Diamondbacks in their World Series year. I think Tommy Pham would have been an excellent signing for the Rangers in the offseason instead of re-signing a guy like Robbie Grossman. I know they went out to get him in a trade, re-signing a guy like El Blondie. I love El Blondie, love Travis Jankowski. I'd have rather re-signed, or I should say signed, Tommy Pham over Travis. I mean, look, I love El Blondie, love the kind of guy that he is in the clubhouse, love the ball player, but I would have rather seen the Rangers upgrade that bench spot a little bit. It was just hard. Jankowski had such a good World Series stepping in for Doley. I think that you expected him to have a little bit of a better year this year. Wasn't meant to be. A lot of Rangers struggled this year. Keep going here. TikTok, we got a comment. Who do I think will win this series? Dodgers, Mets. Look, I've said Dodgers were going to make the World Series since probably mid-September. So for the sake of continuity and consistency, I'm sticking with my Dodgers pick. I'm not saying that I'm happy about being right, but I do feel like Dodgers going up 2-1. Game 3, so pivotal in a 7-game series. It just doesn't matter what the sport is. Baseball, hockey, NBA. It's Game 3. It's just so pivotal. I think over 60% of the time, teams, that win Game 3 go on to win the series. I mean, these are just cold, hard facts, numbers. I think the Mets have an uphill battle, and they got a quick turnaround tomorrow. The Dodgers go up 3-1. I can't see the Mets coming back and winning 3 straight games. Would love to be wrong. I mean, I would love to see the Mets make it to the World Series, so don't take my prediction as hate by any means. I would love to see a Guardians-Mets World Series. I know that some people would be turning that off and not touching it. I would love a Guardians-Mets World Series. Bring it on, please. We're talking about 2 teams that haven't won in decades. Haven't won a World Series in decades. I would love to see that happen. Dodgers just won in 2020. Yankees won in 2009? Soon enough. I'm ready for somebody else. So I would love a Mets Guardians World Series, but it's not looking good for that right now. Not looking great. Dodgers Yankees is, I think, probably most likely what we're going to see. I think Dodgers Yankees is the likely pick. And obviously that would be great for Major League Baseball. Let's be real. After the Rangers World Series against the Diamondbacks last year, not exactly a big draw from the masses, although every single Rangers and Diamondbacks fan was tuned in. That's not a series that's going to draw a lot of casual fans. It's just not. And we can be real about that. Yankees Dodgers is going to draw a lot of eyes. I mean, how could it not? Classic, East Coast, West Coast. Of course, the Dodgers originally from Brooklyn. So you got those New York ties. It's a great series. I'm not even going to lie. I wish both teams could lose respectfully, but one's got to win. I'd rather the Dodgers than the Yankees win. Dodgers got a long way to catch up with the Yankees. A lot of franchises have a long way to catch up with the Yankees. So give me Dodgers. Give me Dodgers. And if the Guardians or Mets can somehow squeak it out in those series, 100%, I'm on board with that. I think it's probably going to be Dodgers, Yankees. Give me the Dodgers. All right, we'll keep going here. Last thing Rangers to chat about, and I'll keep checking comments here and there as we go. We're going to talk about some Rangers that caught our eye in the farm system, some guys to look at for next year that I think maybe aren't going to make an impact per se in 2025, but some guys that we definitely have our eye on. I think we have to start with Teodo, a guy that was in the futures game. I think that he definitely could be a guy maybe that we call up in September. I don't know if he's going to break the opening day roster, but Teodo is absolutely a guy that I think you've got to be encouraged by. A young starter. You've got him along with Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, if you want to throw him in there, Cody Bradford, some young guys. I think Teodo is a guy I'm excited to watch pitch. I'm thinking he'll probably get a spring training invite. We'll see what happens with the rotation and the roster, but Teodo, definitely a guy I'm excited for over the next year or so. And CY actually talked about the fact that the Rangers are really trying to put an emphasis on developing pitching. He did throw out a name that I was a little skeptical about. So guys that the Rangers developed, like guys that CY is claiming as, hey, we developed this guy as a pitcher, something the Rangers aren't very well known for doing. So he mentions Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, Cody Bradford. He threw in Cole Reagans into the mix. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I'm a little skeptical about that Cole Reagans claim. Cole Reagans, I know he didn't have a big sample size with the Rangers, but look, if you want to claim Cole Reagans, okay, but I really don't feel like Cole Reagans popped until he went to the Royals. Like maybe, again, you want to claim you laid the foundation. I was a little skeptical about that comment when CY mentioned Cole. Obviously, Cole Reagans, a great pitcher for the Royals. Sometimes a change of scenery is all you need. I don't think you can completely take credit away from the Rangers for Reagans, but when the guy doesn't pop up in a part or as a part of your organization, I think it's hard to claim. Just my opinion there. Now, other guys that I'm excited about in the minors, I think that Alejandro Osuna, who actually is the brother, younger brother, if you remember, Roberto Osuna, kind of a polarizing guy, pitched for the Astros, pitched for the Blue Jays, was a closer. So Osuna was named the Rangers minor league player of the year. I think that is a guy that is going to get another spring training invite. Maybe a guy that solves some outfield problems. We're talking about Alejandro Osuna, Rangers number 16 prospect, minor league player of the year for the Rangers. We'll see. He hit, let's see, I'm trying to see what the numbers are here. 18 homers, 24 doubles, 61 RBI in 102 games in high A and double A. So I think that's definitely a guy you got to keep your eye on. Alejandro Rosario, the Rangers number 3 prospect per MLB pipeline, number 86 in MLB's top 100. Rosario was selected in the 2023 draft. If you remember, I think in like the 4th or maybe the 5th round, something like that. He pitched at the University of Miami, and he was named the Rangers minor league pitcher of the year. So we're talking about Alejandro Rosario, Rangers number 3 prospect, 86 in MLB's top 100. He had a 2.24 ERA with 129 strikeouts. That was between single A down east and high A Hickory. So not a guy we're probably going to see next year, but a guy that caught our attention nonetheless. Those 3 guys especially. Didn't mention Walcott. I think he's got to be another guy in there. Walcott was another player along with Teodo that pitched in the Futures game. That played in the Futures game. Walcott, not a pitcher, a shortstop by trade. Walcott had a pretty good year as well. He didn't start off great. I think he was hitting under 200 when he was at high A Hickory, but then something clicked. I don't know what it was. Maybe an adjustment with the swing. But after about end of May-ish, beginning of June, I think he was close to a 300 hitter the rest of the way. And that gave him a late promotion to Double A. So Walcott, definitely a guy we're excited about too. Another thing too that we wanted to chat through to wrap up our show today, some honors, some awards for the Rangers. So we had Wyatt Langford being selected to 2nd team all rookie, I believe. I think Colton Cowser beat him out for that 1st team spot, just barely. The numbers were pretty close, but unfortunately, Wyatt Langford loses out to Cowser for 1st team all rookie. And then other honors, you have Nate Lowe and Marcus Semien both being nominated for Gold Gloves. Huge accomplishment for them. Nate Lowe trying to go back-to-back. It's going to be tough. Nate Lowe is pretty close with a couple of other guys in the mix there. So at first base, it's Nate Lowe, Mountcastle, and Carlos Santana from the Twins. So I think that they showed Santana maybe has a little bit of an edge in the stats department over Nate Lowe. That would be a pretty big accomplishment for Nate, though, going back-to-back Gold Gloves. Marcus Semien is pretty much neck and neck with Andres Jimenez of the Guardians. I think Jimenez has the slight edge, similar to Santana over Lowe. Jimenez has the slight edge over Semien when it comes to the defensive stats, but it's going to be close. Marcus Semien had an outstanding season defensively. It went a little downhill with the offense. Hopefully, Simi bounces back in 2025, but to be nominated, a finalist, I think that's a pretty huge accomplishment. Rangers definitely have some outstanding infielders. Again, something that makes us hopeful for 2025. You've still got a really great core player of guys. You've got a great infield. Josh Young, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, most likely Nate Lowe. I think there's a lot to be positive about. A lot to be positive about. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Let me check comments one more time. We will be back on Saturday, and we'll be going through reaction to the Longhorns hopefully win over the University of Georgia. I think that game is at like 4:30 my time out here in Las Vegas. So what is that? 6:30 Texas time, 7:30 on the East Coast. So we'll be on a little bit later to talk about the Longhorns and the Bulldogs squaring off this Saturday. And then we will be back Sunday. Excuse me, we won't be back Sunday because the Cowboys are on a bye, probably for the best after the beatdown, the absolute beatdown they suffered at the hands of the Lions last Sunday. So it'll be Longhorns on Saturday, and then we'll be back again next Wednesday to talk more Rangers and more MLB playoffs. That's the plan. Appreciate all y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for all the comments. They help keep the show fresh. I could go on forever, but I like hearing from y'all. I like the kind of the breakup here and there, going to the comments. I like that we get a little fan interaction, and I really, really appreciate you guys sharing the live. I saw a few of y'all sharing it on TikTok. Thank you for all the people that followed. Really, really means a lot. Hopefully you hit that notification button, that notification bell, stay up to date every time we go live, every time we post. And hopefully we can keep growing this good community of people we got talking baseball, NFL, college football, just about every sport and all the teams I love from the great state of Texas. Hope y'all have a great rest of the week, a great rest of your Wednesday night, and a good weekend ahead. We'll be back on Saturday. Come join us. Come hang out. Talk a little college football. Until then, though, and as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers.